Right, so we saw the Maskana Ramaima, the difference between Oyer and Shefa, but I get to the Klolos Brio and the Klolos Isavis. And we saw that even though we don't, in the final opinion, we don't agree openly with the parties, that he calls the Atzmus the Sibaha Rashina al Habrio, meaning Be'ezhu Derek, the Atzmus is Mamish Mokir, or be a Beder Richu Ma'id of Shaykhs to the Bria Beder Siba Rashina. Even though we don't agree with that, but I get to the Atzmus. However, we saw that the Oyer Hameya Mia Atzmus, like we learned in the previous Maimah, that the Koyach ain't safe, is Me'iyah in the Oyer, because the Oyer is Me'ein Hamoya, and we saw the whole Mila, the Russian ain't safe. But then we saw, when I get to the Shittas Apad, the ain't safe has got certain great miles in it, the Shlilas Kolatoyarim, and all those in Yonim. The Oyer, which is Meya Mina Atzmas, that is Mahavada Oyelames, and we saw here that that's only Bederach Siba, or not Bederach Kiruv, not Bederach Mokir HaKorev El Oyelames. So we saw that at least per Prateh, we Amakayim, the Shitta, which we brought down by Shema Padlis, that you can't say that the Etzem Mokir Amiti, which in this case is not the Atzmas of Chaponim, it's the Oyer, which is Ma'iyah Mina Atzmas, albeit it's only a Ha'ora with all the Yonin that we saw here, but it's Me'ein Hamoya, therefore what is Mahava, the Elamus, BMS is the Oyer. However, we saw that the Oyer remains Muldal Gamri from the Mekablim from the Elamus, and therefore it's only a Sibala Vad. And we saw that the Liyesh Beginnes Moker Mamish Lahavis is our elements. For that we came to the Madrega of Shefa. And we saw that that's in the Tefis of Islabshas. Aber the Oyer Liyesh Beginnes Giloi Ha'etzem, like we saw me Ein Ha'etzem, Ein Above Beginnes Tefis of Islabshas, Elo Beginnes Siba Bilvad Elo Elemus, and we sent to the Maimah later on in the Hemshech here, Odom Kiyah Ba'el B'Sorah, it's a Pasha Tazriya. Matzera, quite a bit later on in the Hemshech. Mashu B'chinas Mokya, B'chinas Kiruv, Hu B'derech Ha'oyer Sha'acha Hatzimto. In other words, after the Oyer Amiti, what that's the Oyer Ameya Mina Atzmas, which is Mamish Me'ein Hamoya, well, that undergoes the Helam of the Tzimtzum, retreats Lagamre into Helam Vizkalas, take the Atzmas, and it's only Alidei the Kav, the Oyer HaKav, which is Oyer Metzumtzum Me'ein. And that's Oyer which is already shot to the Inyan HaGvul, that's Me'ir in the Cholo, as it were, after the Tzimtzum. And that's the Inyan of Mokir Elo Elames, and the Amitias Ashpa at a Kav Ishat Mamali Kolalmin Shefa, or that's the Inyan of how the air comes be slabshas in the Elames. So if he's there, we see that we got in Emerson what you might call two factors, Ikorium, very principal factors in the whole Hisavas, Oyer and Shefa. And it's not just that the Ike that we want to bring out as the Inyan from Oyer, but Shefa is just another Madrega Mofia Beloshan, how do you call it, Beloshan HaChoikrim HaRishonim V'chulu. No, the Inyan from Shefa is a Inyan Amiti in the whole hierarchy of the Giluyim, from the Eibus to the whole Yachas, of the Giluyim, and the Ikim Moker HaKorev to the Inyan HaOlamus is Takeshefa. So we need to understand, like we pointed out at the end of last week's year, yesterday's year, I'm sorry. That's a door, Ma'ira Tzumas Lev, or Ma'ira, what you might call Tumiho, surprise or wonder, what are these two inyonim in the Bria? I mean, either the Oyer is Mahave or the Shefa is Mahave. Was two inyonim and two daragis in the Etzem HaIsaves. So what we'll do is we'll learn a little bit now in the Maskana of the Teretz in the Shilas as they occurred at the beginning of the Maimah, and Mikoyach there we'll maybe be able to suggest a few lines of thought when I get to that principle Shaila. The Alpia Nal Yuvan, in light of everything we said, Mashukosu Zeis Chukasa Torah, as we sort of, even though this was Parsha Tisah, it was the Shabbos after Purim in those days, but it was the Inyan from Parshas Chukas, and therefore the Iker Maimah was based on the Kriya of the Parsha Chukas, Zeis Chukas HaTorah. And we saw the Isa B'Medrash, we brought down at the beginning, what was the Lashon Chukas HaTorah. So we brought down a Lashon of the Medrash, Chukas, is being taken into more into a plural form. Chukais shebohem chokakti shomayim v'oretz. And so we were medactic at the beginning. What does it mean that the Eibishter was choikek shomayim v'oretz? The word choikek means to engrave, to file or chop something into a basis, like for example, to engrave letters on a stone or on a beautiful stone or on some surface, which causes them to become, or causes you to make a form of impression inside the etzem, which is the basis. So what is Shat to say about the Inyan of Shamayim v'Oretz, and the Alter Rebbe being Likutei Torah over there in Parsha Chukas, in the Maimonim where he deals with the Inyan from Chukas HaTorah, the Inyan from Porah Aduma, he brings this Lashon of the Medrash, and he says, the simple pshat of the Lashon Chukas, Shamayim v'Oretz, means the Hanhoga is the way I created the world, the way it runs itself, the way the world runs itself, the way it conducts itself, with all the inyonim of the Bria, the Teva, and the Proteha, Hanhoga of the Bria. It was at a Taisha we call chukais. Yeah, we call it literally the Bria functions through inyonim which are chukais, which is from Lashon, we said Lashon, Hakika. So he said that the inyan of chukais Shamayim v'Oretz hu b'chinas oyer ein sei. Klolos kavona ad the Medrash b'pnimis ha'inyonim. When it says chukais Shamayim v'Oretz, is referring to oyer ein sei. In other words, to the oyer ameya mi'atzmas, like we call it the oyer mi'ayin amoya. That's what we mean by chukais Shamayim v'Oretz. So what's that got to do with it? The Bria Shamayim, Brias Shamayim v'Oretz, Liya is b'chinas Bria mamish, that it should be creation in the simple sense. B'chinas islabshus, yeah, with the inyan of the islabshus oirish b'kelim. And when we saw, like we spoke last night, that when you mahava something, then there's two opposites. There has to be the etzem ishavas of the inyan yesh me'ayin, but there has to also be the presence the whole time of the islabshus of the koyach hapoel by nifal, that you have to have the etzem koyach to brought about the creation the whole time in a state of his islabshus v'kiruv. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to exist. I feel a little rega echad kamavu at the beginning of Shara Yehuva, and one like we pointed out last night at great length. So there he said that mamish b'chinas yislabshus ki inyan bereshis boro. Like we see that the Torah begins bereshis boro, and the word boro means precisely that. The word bara means that the creator is busy and enters and makes the creation b'derech kibur. You can't say that somebody creates, or that there's a possibility of using the word bara by just being at a distance and just saying it's going to happen. Wherever you use the word bara, you mean it was an activity on the part of the borei to bring about the bria. So therefore, the inyan from the Lashon of the Torah, Bereshis bara, implies this idea that there is a inyan from kiru b'derech is lapshus. Shanas u'pchinas yesh mamish. The becomes an inyan van yesh in the real sense through the busyness of the boire to the nira, that he becomes mamish an existing entity which feels himself as an entity. What that's inyan van yesh, zeo mipchina shefa davke. That comes precisely from the level called shefa. Aval bepchinas oyer hu shehu bepchinas sibor. I'm sorry, sibor aisavas mitzad madrega zu ein bepchinas metzias yesh mamish ki im bepchinas chakika la. So he said that the inyan of the oyer, or that it's only a sibor to the isavas, the mitzad madrega of the oyer, then the nivra is not of a matzias of yesh mamish, ki im b'chinas chakika levad. No, he's in a state of engravement. How do you call it? Chakika. In other words, he is aware of himself only as being part of the mokeh. In other words, just like the oishes which are engraved in the stone, then they're not something separate from the stone. On the contrary, they're part of the emes Matthias of the stone. So the inyan van Bria, how it comes, the oyer is in such a way that the Nivroim feel themselves to be Batalim v'niklolim in the Eloki, and they're Batalim, they're mamish in the Eloki. Uke'inyan golivka golifu, and like the famous Lashon of the Zohar Kodesh, golivka golifu. But no doubt you're familiar, we've already had that on several occasions. But that's mamish the first sentence in the Zohar Kodesh per se. But the Zohar Kodesh is made up, first of all, along what's called Hakdoma. The Hakdoma is HaZohar. That's probably about 16 or 18 to 20 blat of the Hakdoma. And then the Etzem Zohar begins with the famous Lashon, Bereish Hurmanas Demalko Golif Golifu B'Tihiru Iloah. That's the first sentence in the actual Zohar per se. Mamir is well known, the famous Piyur B'Zohar, Bekama Drusha considers Bereish Hurmanasa at the beginning of the Rotzain. Hurmana in Gemara also means Reshus, like permission or giving permission for. Hurmanasa in the Lashon of the Zohar Kodesh means the idea of will, Rotzen, but it means an unobliged will. It's like a Reshus. It didn't have to be, but that's the way it is. In other words, to indicate that the Rotzen Lamaila by the Eibush is not bedimian to the Rotzen how it is by a mensch. A mensch wants things because he's lacking things, and that's why he wants them. And the inyan of the Rotzen is to be mamale chisreina, or to be mamale mevukoshe, what he wants and what he's searching for. Well, that's the inyan of Rotzen. Of Lamaila we can't say that. Therefore we call the Rotzen Lamaila Humana or Humanasa, and Humanasa means the idea of Reshus. In other words, he didn't have to want, but he wanted. He gave permission, as a word, to want. Bereish at the highest point in that Rotzen, then there was Golifu B'Tehiru Eloah, and the most high shining. Tihiru means the idea of light, literally shining light, luminescence, you might say. In the highest luminescence there was already a Golifu, there was an engravement. An engravement was made in the high, how do you call it, the high luminescence. I think that's a simple translation of that famous statement in the Zohar Kodesh. So comes again, Siddur explains that what does that mean? That the beginning of the Rotzen, at the Eibishter, and Bereish Humanas at the Malchus, not Stam in Rotzen, no, in the higher Madregas in Rotzen, even before they become Mamish Bria Vapoyo, there was already an appearance of what's later going to be the inyan of the Matthias Anivroim. In other words, that there was already like an engravement. But according to certain Pirush, that's referring to the Kalim, the beginning of the Kalim. And referring to others, it's only the beginning of being a permission for a lower level in Rotzen instead of the higher level in Rotzen. Of actually, what it means is that in the high luminescence of Hashem, there was already the appearance of a certain darkness in the lightness. What that is beginning to indicate the allowance what Hashem is making, that is going to be a koya from him, which is going to bring about the limited thing, not the unlimited. And that's the beginning. The first thing is that it's still in a state of engravement. It's not a separate Metzias, it's still Kalul, and it indicates how that power to bring about the separate Metzias is Kalul v'bottle in the Eivishter. Now that's what's important for our purposes. And one of the Mashalim on that in Tzidus is what's called the Chosim Shebe'evan Toy. If you have a very shining Evan Toy, once upon a time the old days kings used to have it. They used to seal their stamp, they had to put their seal on something that used to be wax. So they used to have like a seal, it was a beautiful ring or something, with some Evan that was so, shining and so powerful that you couldn't even look at it. Miroiva Behiras and so on. Dafki and that they used to make they used to engrave their signature, and then they would drop it into the wax, and it would cause the appearance of their signature in the wax. So it's brought down in Siddur. When you just look at that Evan Tiv, Rochaik, all you see is the shiningness of the Evan Tiv. But if you get a bit closer, then you notice that where the oases have been hakuk in that Evan Tiv, there's a slight darkness. In other words, you can't pick up the oases so much. Miroiv Behiras ha-Evan, but you can notice that there's like a little line of darkness or a little patch here and there of slight darkness. In other words, where you've already made a certain image in Mineu Bay, it's in the Evan and from the Evan. It's not separate from the Evan. It's mamish inside the Evan, then that causes a slight darkness. But that's exactly the mashal of Goliv Golivu, but the hero loa. In the emes luminescence of the Evan, how he is mamish ein save, there already appeared a certain beginning of the whole Indian, which would eventually be the yes. But it began first of all with Kalim, and then with Kalim Gufa Kalim, how they include him in Ak, and how they include him in Akudim, and then later in Atzilus, the Chosmet was. But they all include him inside this Evantoy, and that's the slight darkness that there is in the Evantoy. But that's what he means, Golif Golifo. Amamir, that's it, the Pshat, Chukei Shomayim V'ot Chiach Chukei is Loshen Hakika. So he said that that's referring to the Indian of the Yesh, how it is in a state of Goliv Golivo in the high light before anything really began. In other words, the high light out is B'tachas Hapshitas, like we saw Oyer Ein Seif, Mamish with all the beauty in Ein Seif. But inside that there's already a slight trace of Cheshkas and Chashecha, which is already the beginning of the Yesh out eventually going to come out Begilui Mamish Alidei Bria Yesh Me Ayin.
So is this referring to from like the Tzimtzum Rishon up until Tzilas? Say, is that what it's?
Yeah. We're talking about. Yep. We're talking about from the Tzimtzum Rishon down to Tzilas, including the Kelim of Tzilas. And then, of course, it also includes the Oasis of Malchus, which become the Shorosh and the Nivroim in Elam as Biyah. Well, that's already a much lower level. You can't say about that Golifko, because that's already become a Matthias Nifrede. But here we're talking about how the whole Matthias of the Nivra, or the Kelim, or Philomailomir Kelim, is still kolol or bottle b'techa. So what you really see is the oil. All you notice is a slight, it actually in a Galifo. המאמר said that, וזהו עניין חוקי שמיים בו, אומרת, היינו העיסאווס כמו שבבחינס אויר, שהוא בבחינס חקיקה לבד. He said, so we're talking, the Indian from חוקי שמיים בו, is talking about the עיסאווס, how it is מצד the oir. What over there, the Nivroim, the עיסאווס, is only Indian from חקיקה, גוליב גוליבו, it's not really Amatziyah. We've got two inyanim then in the Bria. We've got one inyan of how the Eivishter comes down, but there are Kiru, but there are Shefa, until he reaches Einyan from his slabshas. So it is Bekalim, Afilu, there's Bria Yatira Vasiya, and then the whole Bria becomes a Yesh, even Mamish Yesh. It fills itself to be a Matziyas Yesh. And then there's a inyan, how there's a Madrega in the Hisavas, how it is in the Moki of Shoirish, in the Inif and the Aposhut, and the Kalim and the eventual Nivroim are only Klulim there in the form of Oisias, Shabev and Toiv, Golivka, Golifo. That's Chukah, that's called Chukah Shamayim Ba'oret, That's what the Medrash means. Chuka Shamayim v'Oretz. There's a madrege in the Bria, which is albeit Shamayim v'Oretz, but it's Chuka Shamayim v'Oretz. And that's the Inyan from Oyer. That's only a sibur to what is ultimately the Etzem creation of the Etzem creation, the Shefer. That's the Inyan from the Slabshus of the Elikus into the Kelim and the Nivroim, Bapoil, Mami. On that basis, we'll be able to understand the two Inyanim in the Shema Havaya that we asked at the beginning of the Maimah. It's written, Vayidaba Hashem Shem Havaya El Moshe Leimer Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetzivo Havaya. So we asked what he needed to Shem Havaya. You've already been told the Shem Havaya. Why does he say Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetzivo Havaya? You could have just said Zois Chukas HaTorah. Gone and said what it is. Was it the Tvei Madrege or Tvei Lashenas in the Shem Havaya? So the Rebbe said now we'll be able to understand what it is. That in the Etzem Mishavas of the Shomayim Va'oretz, there's two, as it were, Inyanim, and both of them are Hishavas. The Shem Havaya is Rosh Mahave. They're able to kill two levels in the Shem Havaya, which are shy to the element. Yedua the Idaba Havaya hu b'chinas Shem. Oh, Yedua the Idaba Havaya. Well, that's the beginning of the pasuk. Hu b'chinas Shem Havaya the Chachma shehu HaMedaba El Moshe. That's one in here. Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetzivo Havaya. Hainu b'chinas Shem Havaya sheba'atzmas Ein Seif shelivnei HaTzimtzum b'chinas Ein Seif Mami. Yeah, Ein Seif in the simple sense. Well, that's Tzivo Havaya. To Mishon, from that level, Nimshu b'chinas Chukas HaTorah shebehem chokakti Shomayim Ba'oretz Li'esh Nimshak Ba'olam Gilui b'chinas Ein Seif. Yeah, u'kamoy she'olam hashayin b'chinas Chakika Leva. What is the whole inyan of this mitzvah of Chukas of Paraduma? The whole purpose of Paraduma is that V'yidaba Hashem El Moshe, but that's Chachma. Chachma is the racist Kol HaSfiros, the racist Kol HaInyonim Harayah, Yislabshus HaEres B'Keilim, or that should become a kli to Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetzivo Havaya. And the Father Alter Rebbe must be Lekutei Torah over there. And the Alter Rebbe said the word Tzivo, as we know already on many occasions, the word Tzivo is from Russian. His chabros that he called kesher, his chabros tzavtza v'chibur asher tzivo havaya, or that second havaya joins up and becomes mischaber to the first Shem Havaya. In other words, that in the brio, how it is mitzad chokhmah, there's meir the inyan, there's chukas haTorah, the inyan from the bria, how it is in even from chukas, well also the inyan from oishis hachakika, how they are in the shoyros. Or those are Ein Seif Mamish, or those are Meir into the Inyan from Shefa and this Mashiachai, with the Inyan from the Elam Sadayah mitzad the first Shem Havaya. V'hainu alidei Chukas HaTorah. Yes, alidei zeh mamshichim Chukas Shomayim v'Oretz. Is it through the Inyan from Chukas HaTorah, then you mamshich the Inyan from Chukas Shomayim v'Oretz into the Shomayim V'Oretz. In other words, did you bring a gila of the Ein Seif, how he is completely Lamayla, and how the whole inyan of the Bria is just Galif Kalifut, that these Oishis HaChakika, B'teika Behiras of the Ein Seif, you mamshik that Lamata into the Nivroim, how they are, mitzad the Shem Havaya, the Chochma, what that's already the beginning of the inyan of Shefa. In other words, the Eish Chabras of the two Madregas of and Shefa. Usually from them. So the answer is that then the world will be bottled, and so even from Gilel Akus, that the whole world will be bottled again, just like the Oishis HaChakika. And that's the whole inyan from Chassidus, is to be mamshik the inyan from Oishis HaChakika B'Galut. And therefore the man should be bottled to Elikus, and he should be bottled to the Emes HaKavana in a way that he doesn't look at the Matthias Hayesh, he only looks how everything is bottled to Elikus, and what do we have to do to bring about that bittul mamish papoil Oilemet. But the ultimate bittul is the ene van his galus of Melech Amor. Shiach and his galus of the Earth will be Bisman. Yeah, van his galus of Melech Mashiach taken from Miyad Mamish. Yeah, therefore you have to be Megala, the ene van the Chukais. The ene van Oisi is Hachakika, the way the oil is in Golivka, I'm sorry, the way the world is in Golivka, Levo, and be mamshik that into the union of the Shefa of Idaba Havaya, Elmois of the first Shemavaya. Remember, that's the union, Bekitsara, the view that the Rebbe gives here on the Lashonos of the Torah, in that Benegel Indian there. So as all the Shaila, the intelligent reader, you know, it says, what we should do is at this kilo one level. You know, the Bria exists even Kozeh, and then we say that really there's another level where it exists even Kozeh, and you got to be Machabed there. The ultimate purpose is to be Mamshid, the Bria, how it is in that Madrega, into the Bria, how it is Bezesa Madrega, the infant Shemavaya, the Chochma, or the infant Shefa, to be Machabed, the Indian of Ur Ein Seif, which is Sibba Bilvad, with the infant Shefa, what that's his Karvas, a Kiru, his Savas, but they're a Kiru, Davka. So also the Shaila, what you should do is, yeah, Brasic Borer, Shemayim, they've created the word, that's wine mold, how do they say? One time around. What's it's not really two, there's Azabri and you got to bring them together, and they do each. Yes, well, if it doesn't bother anybody, we'll take an early night tonight, babes. If it's a little matrid afachat, we'll just call it in an evening, and everybody will say, oh, this is great, I'll be able to get this and this. Got to mess around and you know, chapish muas and drink up sakave, so we already last night we sent you to the place where the Indian is written upon him, not in such easy oasis to understand of. It's written there, and that's in Tanya. Ain't shum do shaloi kosu Tanya. Every Indian what could possibly be, and every child that you can possibly have is you do this stuff in the answers in Tanya. Like the Alter brings it, he wrote Tanya as an answer to all the shaylas that he's not going to be asked to fill in Yechidus, because ain't man was there. But if you learn the Tanya, you'll find all the answers. Don't need any Yechidus anymore. They stay taught in the Hakdama to the Tanya. And as well known, nowadays we look in the Igros Kodesh, was a Seid Ahmuntal. The Igros Kodesh is unser Rebbe Melech Moshiach. Once upon a time, in the old days, Chassidim, they didn't know what to do, and they weren't sure, and they couldn't ask the Rebbe, because it wasn't time, it wasn't Shaykh, it was. So what they used to do was open up the Tanya. Where they opened, that they'll find a answer to their Shaykh in the Tanya. Tova Mafurasam. And it begins with the Inif and the Baal Shem Tov, was fallen on when people used to come and ask the Baal Shem Tov. Shaila bin Yonah Elamazah, you know, what to do, if he's all in fear. What did he do? That he used to open a chumash. He used to take down a chumash and open it, and whatever he found, he would look at the fasika, and then he would know what he's got to answer to. So these inyanim have all been before in history. There are certain people, so they like to make out as they want, you know. It's new things and neue Sachen, and you know, the Mishchistim eingeführt neue Inyanim, and the breakers, and the Stefrieden, and Chulu. Any Mavin Bezeh, well, it's an old Hanhoge by the Chassidim. Yeah, to open up and give a cook, what schreibt the Rebbe? From them, you know. So the Igros Kodesh is just a further step, Indian. So.
The Berditchever, didn't he do that for the altar of his name when he went to prison? The Berditchever, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchever.
Yeah, what about him?
Didn't he open a chumash or something to get the altar of his name? So he davened for him when he went to prison the first time?
To see the altar of his name?
Yeah, the altar of the altar of his mother's name. Because there was
when he was taken to prison?
Yeah, the first time.
Yeah, I haven't heard that myself. It's Dvar Chadash actually. Of the Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchever, he was a Yadid Korev Ma'id from the Alter Rebbe. That's well known that the Alter Rebbe really had a tremendous iskashus nafshiyas with him. The Alter Rebbe said that one of the few people that he has avos nefesh is for a Brevita Baditva. The Reb Zushia and the Poli also said the same thing. So upon him is so it's very likely that because when the Alter Rebbe came out and he got out, it's well known that he wrote 2 letters immediately to inform. One he wrote to Reb Baruch Mezbisher, he wrote to the Baal Shem Tov Zainik or Baruch Mezbisher. Unfortunately, later there was sharp, not easy union between the Mezbisher with the Alter Rebbe. It was later, but at that particular time it hadn't begun yet, so the Alter Rebbe wrote, because he was an Einikov from the Baal Shem Tov, and at the same time the Alter Rebbe wrote the famous letter to the Baditva. He was the first. Those were the first 2 people. In those days, you didn't have faxes and emails and all this sort of thing. You had to send a message. In those days, it had to take time until he got the message out and he got it around. And so the Alter Rebbe chose the Baruch Mezbis with the Brevitza Baditva. So it's highly likely that there was such a inyan that they informed the Baditva and he wanted to be mispaled or it's highly likely that Dover could say Kara. But however, it's well known by the Talmidei HaMagid and Baal Shem Tov that they used to open Sporim. And the Baal Shem Tov used to open the Chumash. So it's highly likely that they also were noyeg Boifim Kozeh. And later after the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya, and then the Hasidim were noyeg to open the Tanya. And you can hear hundreds of stories about the great Hasidim. They opened the Tanya and they found the answer to what, because there weren't emails and faxes and cellular phones and telemeters. Sometimes it was very hard to make a connection in those days. I feel through the normal post, and it wasn't cloud short that you're going to get if you lived a long way away. The father used to open the Tanya, and how did they say? They used to get their answers. Also upon him, Lafi said, I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but anyway, whatever. So Lafi said, it follows that, the Tanya, everything's written in the Tanya. So Perik Mem Ches, over there, if you look carefully, the Alter Rebbe is Mataya, or Barichas over there, it's quite a long Perik. The 2 Madrigas of Sei Veiv Kol Almin, and what he calls over there, were Habor Halbashu Vayislapshas. It's the same type of language that we have here. And those are the 2 madrigas of the Makiv and the what you might call the Pnimi. So the view which comes out over there is that the Makiv is Lamaila from his slapshas. It's not able to enter but directly the elements. It's Oyimad Aleim Bechinas Makiv, or not Chas V'Sholem Bechinas Makiv B'Mokim. It's Nimtza B'Chol Mokim, like he writes over the Alter. It's Nimtza B'Chol HaMakim is B'Chol HaMadreigas and B'Chol B'Pnimiyas, but it's not B'Slapshas. Lo Bo B'Halbosha. Mashenkin, he said the Pnimi is Dafki Bo, and he says that Pnimi, like the Makiv, has no erech whatsoever, as if the erech for Mispor, like Gabi Bli Mispor. He brings out the muscle that no matter how many Misporim you imagine in Mispor, like Gabi Bli Mispor, it's just as if he won, it's corners. And that's what he brings out. If you were to Taya Alfei Alofim, River of Ovids, like Gabi Bli Mispar, it's just like one. I know what they call it. So that's the madrega of the Pnimi, but like Gabi the Makiv. However, when I get Inyon, he says at the end, even though at the beginning he's not Mishtamish Boloshin there, but near the end, the Alter Rebbe says that in Emerson, the Emerson Hisavish Yesh Mi'ayin of the Nivroim comes from the Hamaki. The Emerson Hisavish of the Yesh Mi'ayin comes from the Hasiv, the Hamaki. And then he says a very fascinating thing, the Alter Rebbe. He says, Rak sheloi hoyo bo'evan, k'moi shehu achshov yesh mamish, im lo alidei, she'oil ze itztamtzim, bo b'derech ha'oil pnimi, b'derech hislapshus, b'derech halboshe, b'tich, ilames. He said, that's what causes the ilames to be mishaveh bo'evan shehema achshov yesh mamish. Here we already see clearly that there's 2 Eifanim in his Isavet. Alif, that is the inyan van the Elam is k'moi shehem mitzad the inyan van the Elam. That's the Ika yesh me ayin. That's where you might say breaks the etzem ice between heder and the inyan of something. If it was pure mitzad that, it would be an arrival from Beetle, is colorless in the air. In order there should be the inyan yesh mamish, has to be the. Now that's exactly what's written here. Bo'isias acherim. And the Rebbe said that there's the inyan van the Yisavas Elam is eishahem mitzad chukei shemayim. The inyan van the air makiv. But that's uyer. That's mamish uyer. And there everything is between as Beetle, golivka, leafo, pink. To say the engravement is there in the Evan Teiv mamish. That ein was a called hakor samatzias klau als legamri batel, and then there's the inyan the which is bo v'derach shefa v'derach, and he said that's mislabish, and that's kilo the yisavas b'derach kilo noima, that's also mahave. And on the contrary, it brings about what you might call the shleimus of the Yisavas, that then everything of shleimus, I mean the ultimate of the Yisavas, that everything becomes a yin for yesh mami. And that's dafki to the infant kiruv of the uya, but derech shefa, dainu, but derech kiruv is islabshis dafki, al boshes el tera because of there. In time. Amami, lafizeh kumtais. We've got two, like we pointed out, two inyanim. The Yesh Loimah B'derech Efshe, we could suggest that's connected with a inyan which is brought in many places. And so that's it's brought down at the beginning of the famous Kuntras, what the Rebbe Rashab wrote, the Kuntras Eitz Chayim. What he wrote that was one of the contrasting what the Rebbe Rashab wrote for the how they call it, for the Yeshiva Tomchei Tamimim, for the Talmidim and Yeshiva Tomchei Tamimim. And the purpose was, through those contrastions that he wrote, to educate and to bring the Talmidim that they should be makir in Yonimin, in Pnimis HaTorah, and they should be rogil to apply those in Yonim in Pnimis HaTorah to their Avodah. And at the end of that Kuntras Eitz Chaim, he even says how to apply them to learning Nigla. The whole inyan at the end, how you're supposed to learn Nigla, and how you should use your knowledge of Pnimis HaTorah to learn Nigla. What I got to even how to be medactive for Pirush Rashi, but you guys are not familiar. The Kuntras Eitz Chaim finishes on a very interesting note. When I get to how they used to learn Nigla in the Bible, wie man einmal geguckt in der Gemara, wie man gelernt, wie man medactic gewesen, v'chulu, which it's geleitet, maybe you should take a glance at that at some point, alright? And I do. However, right at the very beginning of Kuntras Eitz Chaim, the Rebbe says that the two inyanim in the Bria, they're called Choimer v'Tzura. Have you ever heard of them? They're called material and literally shape or form. Material or shape or form. And so he talks over the Barichas that the material, well, that's the etzem gufa, the niva, the etzem yeshes, what we call here yeshes aniva. Well, that etzem yeshes, well, that comes about from dibur, v'yadaba havaya, b'dvar havaya shomayim na'asu. But he said we find other psukim that they tell us that the creation was made through the Avis's will, and that is kol asher chofetz havaya oso. Everything the Avis wanted, that's what he did. In other words, whatever he did through rotten. And those state bidvar havaya, well, that's even dibur. So make up your mind, here it's dibur or it's rotten. So the Rebbe says no. Mitzad dibur is one madrega. Mitzad rotzen is an andere madrega. And he said over there, he said that the etzem choimer hayesh, and the etzem choimer and the royal, they feel themselves mamish to be hayesh, and a matziyah, that comes from the dibur. And he said ve'ila is what we call atzura, and that's what you call in loshen of ordinary loshen shape. Of it doesn't just mean the shape, but it means what you might call the kilo the tachlis of that in it. What's it really all about? Apart from just being a piece of yesh, what is it really supposed to be all about? What's it supposed to be doing? What's its tachlis? In other words, that's called its tzura, its shape literally. So the Rebbe said that comes from the meaning from rotzen. Chayfetz Havaya does it in from the Tzura, Ve'ila, the Yeshes, V'choima, Anivra, or that comes from the Dibur, V'dvar Hashem Shamayim, Nasu. So the normal reader, the intelligent reader, L'chera says pink faket should be written. That the in from Chayfet, that's in from Rotzen v'Chayfet, or that's a Mechoilus of the Eibishter, how he is Mitzadatz, or that should be the Etzimim to bring about the Yeshmi Ayin, to bring about the L'choima. And even the Dibur, the Eibishter wants to talk, or no, talk, that's cool. Another law, that would make the shape, or the Tachlis, or the nice things, as you might say. But the Choima, and the two, that should those are pink fakir. Those are the pink fakir. If we can design, and those are the right pink fakir. Those are that the embassy in and of the Yesh comes from Shefa. And that's the Slapsis already. And that's the limited already. Where we should not just the Emitis in of the Yesh, and the Emitis in the Yesh, that's the Kol Yochel. That should be Mitzad the Golef Goliva, Mitzad the is in Bittel Mamish in Atzim, say, and that should be Mitzad the from Shefa. So the answer is that we have to say that the Eibishter wanted. What is the Taij Chayfet Zavaya? What is the Taij? The word Chayfet or Rotzen B'Klal Lamayla. That means the Pnimius HaKavona. What are we really after? Ma'anach Rotzim. In other words, that there's a person, once he comes into Tomchei Tmim, who's your will? Well, Marotzim. He should just drag around, he should eat, complain about the food, because it's not tremendously Mahuda. It's better than other places. There's the Charum drain, and there's, and Shmuzin, and getting in, and getting out, and every now and then they say, oh, that's a nice thing, Rabbi Yeshiva, Shalom Aleichem, so the Rabbi. I learn a little bit of, I wasn't here, myself away a little bit, always say, no, there's some very, very profound purpose and some very profound Indian that the Rebbe wanted when he made Tomchei. I mean, this Rebbe, nowadays Arab, that they made the Indian from Tomchei Tmimim. There's some Indian for Chayfetz. It's like a rotzen, a will, a purpose in the whole thing. So what would you say is the emes reason why the whole Tomchei Tmimim is there? For the first even or the second wave? Ni? I thought everybody would chorus with one chorus. You'd say, was that for the second in it? All you know, told it was for the pneumius and the purpose. Uzha Vilman and the whole in it, Ma'anach Rotzim. That's why it's there. Somebody should just drag around and shmuz and go in and go in, daven a little bit, meditation, that's the whole in of what the Rebbe Rashab made Tomchei Tmimim. Those are going to the way he made it. Erefa, Kumtois, the Davki, the Dakis, and the not noticeable thing called Kach. Those Davki, the Amos and Tachlis, in Mamela, that's why the whole thing actually came about. How did the Rebbe Rashab make Yesh Mi'ayin? There was no such thing as Tomchei Tmimim. And you know what he said? It took him 10 years of thinking to even start to decide that he would bring about the whole inventory. 10 years. Of a man like the Rebbe Rashab thought it all over. In my middle, there's some tremendous kavanah going on here. There's a Nagaya, and like he said, there's Nagaya in the whole of Melech HaMashiach. And my middle, in order to bring that about, that you have to have the highest koiches, das is the immediate in yesh mi'ayin, to bring about what is the ultimate purpose of the year. What is the ultimate purpose? And that comes mitzad in a rotzen, and that's the immediate Yisavit. If it wouldn't be for that, there wouldn't have been any Yisavit. Whatever we have to have that the yesh be a yesh, or not yet, there should be a yesh. That's part of the deal. Because we want him to have a nitzoyin. We want him to be a yesh. He should be able to give away his yesh. That's a heck of a nitzoyin. That's a heck of a piece of work. Oh, that's all because of the tzura. It's all because of the ultimate shape of the whole thing. What are we really after? That's why we have to have a the Inyan from the Yesh comes above from the lower Madrega. That goes through the Inyan from Dibur and all things. The Eibushter gives that down in a way which comes close to it. And that's the amazing thing, that in a way, the greater trick mitzad the Eibushter Davke goes through the more limited Inyan of Shefa, that he should make something which is a Yet. Yeah, that's Kilu in a way, a greater trick than how it is in mitzad the Inyan HaChayfet. So therefore, Davki in the Pnimi and Davki in the Shefa is a very great, what you might call, hidden trick of the Eibushter, that Davki, his Koyach HaAtzmi, is there in that also, because to bring about a Yesh that feels itself a Yesh, and it lives like a Yesh, well, that's a tremendous trick, the Gabi Elikus. To the emphasis that everything is bottled by Machia. There's also things, are they yet? That the Eibushter does, so is Dibur. That the Eibushter does, so is Dibur. And therefore we see that Dibur is a very high Inyan, I feel by a minch. Dibur comes from a very, very high Madrega. Therefore in the four states, we call Doimon, Tomei, Chai, and Medaber, we call the mensch Davki Medaber, not a maskil. I don't talk about his seichel. His seichel nicht ausverlassen. Of his seichel you can't rely too much. Yeah, what you have to do is, what's he going to say? Who's wird sagen? Mahu Yagid, and what's he going to give in to the creation? But when you think, you don't give anybody anything. When you even masculine, you haskola, or when you talk, then you change the whole world. The same way, the Eibushter, so Kumto is really both of them are tremendous powers of the Kol Yochel of Hashem. One goes through Dibur and brings about Choyma, that's a tremendous Koyach of Atzmas, and then there's the Inyan from Rotzen. And what is the whole Inyan from Rotzen? Bittul. The whole Inyan of the Eibushter, how we use in that Madrega, is to bring a Bittul into the world, to make the Choyma become bottle to the Ayin, to make the Yesh become bottle to the Ayin. It means the beetle mitzad the emitis hakavana, and the emitis in the choyma, which is the that's the two madrigas. That's the madriga how it is mitzad shefa, and therefore the Eibushter made a whole thing called shefa because he wanted to bring about something that would be a mamish a yesh, and in order to do that you got to go down and, as it were, push him into a madrega for yesh. That's a very great achievement, Kaviyachol in Elikus, of it's how he does it in a way of kiru. We read Umedaber Elo, and you might say he talks a little bit too closely to him because he can let the Metzger almost get away with it. The Eibushter is giving me all this. He legs it in his pocket and he's yes, I'll do a teva. He can say, I'll talk no more bracha, I'll do up some mitzvah, aber had he called triangulate in Keshener, put into his pocket. And I feel I'm only will say it was a Dvar Torah, I said, this is my Dvar Torah, Hey, triangulate in Keshener, as they say, put it in his pocket. And if that's what can happen, mitzad the Inyan from Dibur, approaching him too closely. He can do that. And therefore you got to have Chucha Yishamayim Borat. You have to see the Tzura and the Inyan from how it is. Golif Golivu b'Tuhuri Lo. It's all engraved in the Yetzim Ayin. How it is Lamaila. That's got to come down into the Shemayim Borat. That's got to make everything bottle. It's got to make everything bottle to the Mitis Hakah. Mitis Hakavona. Those are the two in Yonim. That's what we should suggest. Like I said last night, many in Yonim are misbayerim. And the truth of the matter is that the whole of Chassidus talks on two levels. Misug zeh, bekama subjects, bekama in Yonim, which mitzad, how do you call it, the Hargosha. Maybe most people have asked B'kol Pnima Dako at this particular issue, they would say, well, when is he going to finish with this whole rigmarole, because we have them anyway. He said, we won't go into all the other in Yonim, which are Shayat, which are Mistayef, Mizeh, suffice it to say, how we dwarim Mistayefim from this whole Inyan, what the Rebbe's Maram is here, and that's Perek Mem Ches in Tanya, But the whole Indian is really on two levels, the creation. And the whole secret is to be Machaber Zeh Im Zeh. And that's what we hear, and we find all over Likutei Torah. The Alter Rebbe says, Lahamshik das Elen b'tois das Tachtoim. To be Machaber, the das Elen with the das Tachtoim. The ganze Maashe. That was the Indian of Heiman Achamov, that's the Indian of the Arizal. That was the whole secret. The Arizal, Rabbeinu Chaim Vital, so that you could see that the Arizal was especially. Oh, that's also in the Kuntres Eitz Chaim. At the back of the Kuntres Eitz Chaim, they print a Hakdoma, what the Rabbeinu Chaim Vital wrote to one of the books of the Kisvei Arizal. He wrote a Hakdoma in which he talks about his Rav. He talks about the Arizal. He talks things that he saw on him and all sorts of, it's mind-boggling. And he writes a whole sort of little piece about it, how he, what he saw in the Arizal, who he was the Arizal, a whole mass. He writes, not Kol HaPratim, some of it. And he says that was, we can see that it was a special sending from heaven. You can see that the Eibishter wanted to change history, and he wanted to move everything in Yiddishkeit into a whole new vista and a whole new era, as he sent down a special Koyach Elokim min hashamayim. He says, V'zeh hoya moyerizah. And he says, Me'yid Allah, he said, I bring witness of myself, Shaloi Zozer, Yad Eliyahu Hanavi miyodei kol zman shehikarti. He said that Eliyahu's hand never left his hand, Eliyahu Hanavi, the whole time that I knew him. So how long did he know him? About 11 and a half, 12 months. The whole kesher between Rabbeinu Chaim Vital and the Arizal was a few months. So you can see what sort of a league we're talking about in this whole unbelievable Indian. Al Chaponim, he said it was a gilui to change history, as they state there. In other words, it's up to now it's been a certain Indian. Now it's beginning a whole new Indian. So that's that all the generations, the Indian of these chaburs of the Shahar is mitzad chayfetz were brought into the Shahar is mitzad surah. That was always the kavanah. Mitzad choymer. That was always the kavanah. To be mechaber the chuch shamayim v'oretz mit the mokei ha'isavus b'derakiru. That was always the kavanah. The Arizal came to show you how each and every one of us knows that and lives that, and he has to know that that is in the emes the kavanah, and that's what's going to bring Mashiach Poel. The people will live with these in Yonim, and they will be part of their avodah, and yesh leima, that the ikar what the Arizal brought in, that you won't be bothered you're going to get out of it, what's going to be your reward or not your reward, what sort of like an Aiden you're going to have or not, when the other Sachen. The Arizal said you've got to be in the avodah mitzat etzum ha'inyan of Elokus. That's the kavanah Elokis, that's going to be your inyan, and that's your simcha. That's your emes of simcha, and all other inyanim will follow. All the other inyanim will follow suit. And that's what we find, that the whole change in history and the Gilad Pnimis HaTorah was a new inyan where each and every person's got to be in the inyan from Pnimis HaTorah. He's got to be devoted to Avodas Havaya, mitzat the etzem inyan of Avodas Havaya levad. And the simcha has to be in the etzem minyonim. Akira, that's called in Yonena, we call Tatliseinu, Gilui Elokus Lamata B'zeh Oilam, and Gilui Kavanah Hoel Elyona Lamata Lasis Lo Yisbara Dira Batach Toinim. That's what the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, which is the development of the Arizal, that's the whole center of the Tanya. Lasis Lo Yisbara Dira Batach Toinim, Dafki to make the lowest of all world. Dort is the Gilui and the Atzmas. That's how he comes to dwell in the world, the Pashtas, keep Shuta, and that's in him Heiman Achamov. That's a whole Nakuda. Now, the one little Nakuda that you mustn't forget in Heiman Achamov is that there has to be Avos Yisrael. There has to be Avos Yisrael. Now, the Avos Yisrael has to also be B'teike, with also unconditional, no messing around, because the whole mass was the same in Heiman Achamov. The whole Inyan. But there was a whole bilbo in the Inyan from Avos Yisrael. that's what caused the Al-Khaparim, as much as it's understandable, that's what caused the etzem Histalkus. You know, the whole mass was because not informed, essence informed. But there is a warn to Talmudim that they must be ba'achtas, there mustn't be any quarreling with the whole thing. The Al-Smach he would reveal to them a certain inyan. It's forbidden to reveal it, even to him. It's forbidden to reveal it. Lamata, only if there'll be absolute actors and absolute. But if there'll be any inyan of chas v'sholem eipach actors, then it can damage very seriously. So they said, oh yes, of course, we'll only be actors. Oh yes, the makabel. And he told them, he revealed to them this inyan, this secret of the Torah. And then in the 9 days, Hey Menachem was in the 9 days. Dafki in the 9 days, there was a quarrel broke out amongst the Talmidim. They had a whole group where they were living at that time in Tzfat. And unfortunately, the Weibers are rein and them. How do you call it? Noshim Tzadkonias, they got involved in it. And so some of the Talmudim begged them that they should stop, you know. They said that the reason said, no. You know what it's like when it does. And the machlekes blew for a couple of hours, and it was very unpleasant. And after that, they resolved. He went into the shul and he put his head down there. You guys are uninformed. So they came in and they asked him, weeping, you know, what has happened? What are you sitting like this for? And the whole thing, and he said, it's too late. And a few hours later, he left the world. Yeah. So anyway, whatever. So we see from that how much is Nogeya in the uniform. Hey Menachem, the uniform actors, actors and Avos Yisrael. Cholila, there shouldn't be any period. Dafki in the 9 days, we have to be mishtadel to do everything we can to understand everybody and be, kusha to them and to understand them and to be in a state of emes ha'av, of emes ha'achtas, and build Yishum Sofik. That will add to the possibility of bringing down the Ur of Slamata, Dir Olei B'Taktoinim, Mamish, and these galas of Melech HaMashiach, B'Poyo, Mamish,